what I would say more definitively is that I believe this is the end of Lukashenko. Again, whether that's this week or in 2 months or in a year, it'll take time to play out. But he has lost all legitimacy domestically as well as internationally with the EU, as well as with Russia, who is not sad to necessarily see him go. What they are a little bit more concerned about, though, is this transition and what it looks like. That becomes a very different question. Lukashenko has actually mentioned about potential for a referendum and things like that. He's rejected new elections. He has also rejected stepping down from power. So I think this will be a long, drawn-out fight. But ultimately, I believe that we will be dealing with a Belarus without Lukashenko at some point in time. Yet Belarus still staying within sort of the Russia's historical orbit, and elections most likely down the line. However free and fair those are is another question, of course, to be added at that time.
Just lastly, on the future of Belarus, it feels like demonstrators had been so focused on domestic issues, didn't necessarily want outside involvement from Russia or the West. But you have described a future where it remains within the sort of orbit of Russian influence and Russian control. Can Belarus go down a solely independent route at this point in time?
That remains to be seen. A lot of commentators out there have compared the situation, of course, with Ukraine, which obviously did not stay down sort of an independent route, but veered towards the West, which became quite dangerous, of course, and we've seen the outcomes of that. Other commentators have likened the situation to what has occurred in Armenia. Now, that's a very different situation. Belarus is far more sort of central to Russia's national security concerns than of course, Armenia is, which did lead a pro-democracy, slightly more independent route and promises to stay within Russia's orbit. The risk here going forward, and what's concerning about Lavrov's comments, as you mentioned, is the potential for this situation. Currently, it is purely a Belarusian domestic pro-democracy movement. But for this to be reformulated, as Lukashenko is trying, as Lavrov has even mentioned, some other people within the Kremlin have mentioned, to reformulate the situation as being a geopolitical standoff with the battleground in Belarus, because Belarus is being impacted with some meddling from the West. That's the major risk to be watching going forward. This will take considerable amount of diplomatic tact and skill to ensure that it doesn't escalate to another level. Misreading of signals, miscommunication, overreactions by Moscow or Lukashenko for that matter. And the hope is to keep this from becoming a geopolitical situation as we have in Ukraine.